Kelly. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we are going to go over all the books that I read in the month of September. Now September was not that crazy of a reading month. It was a little bit more than my previous reading months such as August. I read 4 books this month. They were a solid mix of books. I had fun with them, so I'm excited to share my thoughts, my ratings on them. And I did get a little off track with my TBR, which is okay because I chose books I really wanted to read, so I think that's the most important thing. But we're also going to go over the books that I did not get to this month as well. But I think we're going to start with our stats for the month. Alright, so this month I had 6 books on my TBR. I only read 2 books off of the TBR that I set, and 2 books I added to this month because I really wanted to read them. So 4 books off the TBR did not get read, 2 I added. So technically I had like 8 books that I wanted to kind of read this month, but I didn't get to 4 of them, if that makes sense, hopefully. For ratings, we had 1 3-star, 2 4-stars, and 1 4.75, so no 5 stars, but we're really close there with that 4.75. For genres, I read 2 romance, 1 YA, and 1 fantasy. So I guess the YA could be dystopian YA, I guess, but in my mind it's a young adult book, so, or young adult fantasy book too. It could be either or. There's the genres. And the 4 books that I did not get to this month, unfortunately, hopefully I get to them sometime this year. If not, there's always next year. We have The Tenant by Frida McFadden. Unfortunately did not get to, but I think this be a quick read because Frida McFadden reads pretty quickly from the books that I've read by her, so hopefully sometime before the year ends. If not, that's okay. Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now this has been on my TBR a couple times, so I really want to read it. I really do. Don't worry, I do want to read this at some point, so it was just not the time. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This I had the audiobook on Libby for the longest time this month, and I just was not interested in picking it up. I just wanted some fantasy and romance this month, so maybe this might be like a spring read or something for next year, who knows. And again, another fantasy, The Gilded Crown by Marianne Gordon. I do want to read this at some point. It sounds very interesting, and I just hopefully at some point this year, if not next year, who knows. But it's a fantasy book. I love those. I feel like those are always a great time to read, so someday. So overall, it was a pretty balanced month with a mix of genres and pretty good ratings, which is great. I didn't have to DNF any books. And of course, I didn't read everything, but that is okay. I read books that I really enjoyed, and that's, again, what's important. So let's go ahead and talk about those books that I did read this month. The first book I read this month was Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. This is the last and final book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, and I absolutely love Lila Sage's writing. I've loved every single book that she has put out so far. With her small town cowboy-esque romances, they're just perfect reads, you know, for any time. My favorite out of the whole series is Lost and Lassoed. I think that is my top. This one, it was great. I liked it a lot. I rated it at 4 stars, which is, you know, pretty good. It wasn't quite that 5-star feeling. Usually 5-star feeling is like, for me, like I cry at some point, or like I just really connect with the characters. But this was still cozy, heartfelt romance that I really enjoyed to get to know these characters. And it was just, there was one point where I was like, where was it? Oh, it was, they do a lot of like going back in time because these two have had a relationship many years ago, so it goes back in that time, and like just getting to know where their love started and how they still love each other even after all these years. It was just fun to just like see their relationship come back together by the end of the books. So I can't wait to read more Lila Sage books because Soul Searching is coming out, which I feel like I've talked a lot, and I get to see her this month, or in October, so literally like next week or a weekend. Yeah, literally next weekend I get to see her, I think, or something like that. So I'm super excited. Like I said, 4 stars. Love Lila Sage. Super excited what she comes out with next. But very sad that this little series is over because I loved this series so much. The next book I read, of course, is Fearful by Lauren Roberts. This is kind of like the, I don't want to say it's part of the Powerless trilogy, but it's a novella in the trilogy, and it's going in tandem with Fearless, so you can read both at the same time. I absolutely love the Powerless trilogy. I feel like I'm a robot repeating myself over and over again, but I talked a little bit about this in my video where I had, was it Pokemon Dice Choose This Is How Much I Read? I believe so. I talked a lot about this book in that, but to kind of recap, if you didn't watch that video, I love Lauren Roberts. I received this copy at a author event, and I got to see her in person, which was really fun and exciting, and just like, it's so like interesting to hear like writers like processes of how they sit down and write a book, or how they come up with characters and all this, and this is definitely a lot different than like her first book. I don't, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself too much because I talked a lot in my Pokemon Dice Chooses How Much I Read, but this is definitely like a more darker tone where you are in Mara's point of view. When you're in Kit's point of view, it's very interesting because you're seeing a lot of like different events. I mean, same events that happen in Fearless, but a different perspective because you're in Kit's perspective, which is kind of fun and interesting. I love that because I want to know what's going on with every character. So this definitely was fun to add to the Powerless trilogy story and all of that. So I didn't fully cry, therefore I did tear up at some points, but I rated a 4.75. I absolutely love it. It's Lauren Roberts. I can't wait to see what else she writes, and it's been fun to watch her grow from Powerless to this. So super excited to see what else she puts out, just like Lila Sage. And yeah, that's Fearful by Lauren Roberts. 4.75, pretty good. Highest book on this month's reading. The next book I read was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I am probably one of the last people to read this book. I'm kidding, but I am a little late to the game. I finally read this book, and I absolutely understand why people love this series. Just like getting into it, it was so easy and fast-paced to read. Like, it felt like a movie in my head, which is funny because I've never seen the movie either, but it definitely like gives that movie action adventure type feel while you're reading this book. Like the world building of like, I could picture like when they started the Hunger Games, what it looked like, and like talking about the different districts. It was very like I said, a movie in my head, which is awesome. I loved that. It was fast-paced. I like held my attention. I'm super excited to see what happens next in Catching Fire. Of course, I'm going to continue the series because this kind of ended off on a cliffhanger, so I definitely want to get into the next book soon since this is fresh into my mind. And I definitely love Katniss. She definitely gives me vibes of Peyton from Powerless, just like that strong, intelligent woman who like is resourceful and like stands her ground, and it's just so fun to like follow her around through the trials of the Hunger Games. So I gave this a 4-star. Definitely like it. Will continue the series. Maybe also will watch the movie at some point because this was pretty good. So 4 stars. And the last and final book is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. Now this book wasn't too special for me. It was pretty average. I rated it 3 stars. I did like the premise of the book. We have Sadie, who is an artist. She mostly does portraits for a living, and she gets her like big break for this like contest to enter to win some money, and it's more for like the legacy of her mom, because her mom was a artist as well, but her mom passed away. But something happens, and through surgery she gets facial blindness basically, so she can't see people's faces, which now she's got to figure out, okay, how am I going to paint a portrait when I can't see people's faces? So we follow her story of that, and like how she is going to make a portrait without being able to see people's faces and all of this madness basically. But through that she meets this guy in her building named Joe who decides to help her out with this portrait and helps her in other ways as well throughout the book, and they kind of build this relationship throughout the book, and it's just really fun to just see them connect. I mean, of course there's that 3rd act of dilemma. I'm not gonna say breakup, it's like a dilemma, and of course you get that anticipation of, okay, after this they're gonna get together. So it's like, it was okay. It's definitely the premise of like facial blindness and like being a portrait or an artist, portrait artist, is really interesting, but overall it was like any other romance book, but it's fine. It was fun. It's something different. I haven't read a book that has a character who has facial blindness. I also really enjoyed at the end, Catherine Center includes a little like author's note about, or a note about facial blindness, which is kind of interesting, and then author's note too, talking a little bit about love stories and how it impacts people, and I really enjoyed that, even though it's not part of the book itself, like the story of Hello Stranger. But I liked her little author's note at the end, because it definitely like felt relatable to read, if that makes sense, of how, yes, you know that they're gonna get together and you're like, oh, that was like, we knew that was gonna happen. Predictable was the word she used. But I like that she said, instead of using predictable, let's use anticipated or anticipation. Like, I loved the anticipation of them getting together at the end. So I liked that. Other romances that I've read might have been more banter heavy. I feel like that's something I really enjoyed. This didn't have too much banter, but like I said, pretty good book. Would recommend. It's definitely a different type of romance, but not my favorite, but it was a good read for sure. So Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. Alright, so here is all 4 books that I read this month. Overall, I really enjoyed Hunger Games and Fearful this month. I think those were probably my top 2 this month. Reading that fantasy type vibe is just something that I really enjoy in the fall. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts, or if you are planning to read any of these books in the future. I highly recommend Fearful and Hunger Games. For sure. The other 2 are a Wild and Wrangled too, but Hello Stranger, if you want to. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you subscribe. I post videos once a week, whether it's bookish content like this, lifestyle, vlogs, kind of whatever I'm in the mood for. So if you like what you're seeing, you should go ahead and subscribe. That's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye!